Hi. Welcome everyone to the Monday Night Live Q&A. Dr. Rob is in the house. We're going to get started. We had a really good, so Tara Lynch, if you missed it, Tara Lynch, who is the author of The Orange Post-it, joined me last week and shared her story. And so that one is posted on our video library, but she guest hosted with me last week. So it was really good. And check that one out if you missed it. But okay, Dr. Rob,
They did
go.
miss me. I mean, you did miss me. There's no
Yeah,
question
we
about
gave
it.
you a night off. We always,
I know,
yeah, it was,
but doesn't mean you didn't miss me.
no,
I
we missed you, but
okay.
it's nice to have somebody that, I mean, she was very
Somebody else.
interesting and yeah.
Just a note to anybody who's listening, I want to be absolutely sure you know, which is if you're listening on podcast, that every single referral Tammy makes, whether it's to a group or for the most a work group or a video, or it all goes through seekingintegrity.com. So if you're listening and we say, oh, try this route, it's all coming through seekingintegrity.com. You can find everything there and more. So that
Do
wanted to
you
put
know how
that.
many people I get lots of emails every week that people say, I listened to you on a podcast or I watched you on YouTube and we said something. And so they're reaching out to navigate the resources that we're discussing. So I really appreciate that. I'm happy to answer those emails, TAMI at seekingintegrity.com. So
All right,
Dr.
let's
Rob,
do it.
go to the answered. Okay.
Yeah.
The first one is my husband is a porn and masturbation addict 36 days into recovery from a recent relapse. I've read Sex Addiction 101 and the explanation that addicts struggle to find their real life partners as sexually stimulating. Will he ever be capable of being sexually attracted to and stimulated by me?
Um, so first of all, it's very, very early to be talking about, and I'm not dismissing it. I will answer the question, but I, I I think that, in my experience, don't know that all, but I think to answer that question is a little premature because you will have some feelings that may have not come up yet of anger and disappointment. And I hear a lot of focus on him. When will he be interested in me? And you know what I would say to you, with all due respect, is you've been betrayed, you've been violated, you've been harmed, and sometimes partners will long to be sexual with the addict, but not always for the right reasons. And I don't know if this is you or not, but early in the process, it could be, well, and I'm just using heterosexual models. So if he has a lot of sex with me, he won't want to go with other people. That might be one answer. Another answer might be, I feel much more attracted to him now that he's real and he's being honest, and I feel so much closer to him. And the third answer I would think of is when we're making love, I think it'll draw us closer again. I think it'll bring us back together. I think it'll be the key, or proof his love for me, whatever that is. And my experience is that it's very important that you're sexual for the right reasons, and I think the reasons have to do with feeling safe, feeling trusting, feeling engaged, feeling, all of the things that don't come along with 36 days of recovery. And it may be that he's been working on it for a year and finally got 36 days, but from that perspective, it's brand new. So one of the things I would say is, where does that expectation come from? What does it mean for you? And what do you expect you get out of it? That's a larger question. To the sex itself, just to simply say that part, it takes a lot of time. I mean, a lot of time. Yes, sex addicts are intimacy avoidant. We seek intensity rather than intimacy. Intimacy, and we go all through the reasons, trauma, whatever. Intimacy is scary to us. That's why we split our lives apart between the intensity of sex over there and the intimacy of relationships as much as we can over here, but we don't put them together. So, intimacy, as Tammy would say, is a lot more things than sex. And I think especially at the beginning, even if you feel closer and have worked through some of that anger, if you just walk down the street hand in hand, I will consider that after a few months to be progress. And then it might be curling up at night or cuddling. There is a process. Sex, when it was trustworthy and we've been it together all the time and I trust you, maybe just for fun, maybe because we really feel connected. Now it has to be a different, you all have to go all the way back to the beginning, because what you had may not have been real. If you or you wouldn't trust that I was really safe. So the two pieces I would really ask you, and Tammy, I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised, will back me up completely. One is that it seems like a lot of pieces are missing for you in terms of your own feelings. What is it like to have some you wouldn't choose porn over you? What are they looking at? Are they looking at something that's more they think that you think is more attractive to you? Are you unbelievably angry that he's been doing this an hour before you went to bed? Or, what are the circumstances? So to me, there's a lot of feelings that need to be worked out before you look to him, whether he's sexual or not. And the other piece is, even if you both decide it was a great thing and everyone told you fantastic, sex is not penetration. Sorry, intimacy is not penetration. Penetration, if you will, is the result of a long period of trust and connection and loving and what we might have in the old days called foreplay. Um, and it may be 6 months before we have sex, but are you spooning? Are you cuddling? Are you shower? Whatever that is to grow the sense of trust. So I wouldn't trust someone at 36 days. I wouldn't feel safe with them because they were getting able to arouse and be sexual with me wouldn't mean a thing to me because I don't believe them. So anyway, that's my big answer to small questions. And by the way, I love you for wanting to be closer and for wanting to connect and for hanging in there. It just seems like the question's kind of premature. Thoughts?
Well, and yeah, because I went to this is what I'm reading is I'm I feel like it's about me rather than it's about his maladaptive coping mechanism because sex and porn, if you read the book,
Ah,
but if it's about me, then I'm not sexually attractive enough for him, etc. Versus he has a problem and he's taking his, and he's searching for intensity, lack of vulnerability. I mean, porn and masturbation is there's no like I don't have to be nice to you, I don't have to connect with you, I don't have to hold your hand, I'm going to go be very efficient over here versus and seek that intensity versus connect with you. So my concern is that you're taking on that there's something wrong with you and it's got nothing you did or didn't do cause this. It's his work to work on creating the coming closer towards you, like Dr. Rob said, a trust, like concern, all of that, get support for you. I'm glad you're here, but I hope you're leaning into the drop-in groups for partners that are free. They're on our website. We've got lots of them. We've got lots of videos that talk about healthy boundaries, etc. We've got work groups that'll start again in January for partners. If he, you said he's 36 days since the last time he acted out. If he hasn't already taken the Porn Addiction 101 work group, I'm going to put the link in the chat in a moment. If the technology works, and but I'll put the links for the work groups, but that would be a fantastic thing for him to participate in because he's going to have a relapse prevention plan. If it's just like, I'm going to stop, like he won't be able to stop or it'll switch to something else. So if there's, is he working with a qualified CSAT trained professional? How many 12 steps is he going to? There's PA, SPAA, PIPA, SLAA, all the S groups. We've done webinars on how to navigate those. So the more work that he's doing to shore up a plan so that he isn't just switching to something else, that will help you build trust, or, will help him build trust with you. After he's completed Porn Addiction 101, then Out of the Doghouse for Men Who've Been Caught Cheating would be a good one. There's a betrayed partner group for partners of porn addicts. It's Thursday morning. And while there are people that are acting out sexually with people and then also have porn, this one was, a little different focus, if all of the acting out has been online. So we've got a lot of resources, but I want to go, this isn't about you. It isn't that he's, like there's
right,
something wrong with you that he's not attracted to you. It's
right.
he's compartmentalizing over here versus connecting with you. So
And I would even add that if he's sexual with you now, I wouldn't trust it. It's not just what would make you feel better. Is he trying to assuage you? Is he trying to make you feel better by doing this rather than you're watching the work? And also, with all due respect, and I don't know if I saw this, Tammy, when you say it's 36 days sober, what does that mean? Does it mean he's going to a therapist? Does it mean he's going to support groups? Because it's not just about stopping the behavior. That's actually stopping the motivation, stopping the behavior is the motivation for doing all these other things. But stopping the behavior is not the answer. The answer is finding a different way of living and getting support and looking at this. So what I would ask you is, what is that 36 days based on? Or is it simply based on, hey, honey, I have 36 days. I hope he does. But that doesn't get maintained unless they're or cleared up or clarified unless there's a meaningful long-term process. And so that my other question is, what is he actually doing for these 36 days? Because if he's doing nothing, I'm not sure I fully believe him, and with all due respect. So let's keep moving.
Okay, the next one. When one partner misses an opportunity to be curious or emotionally attuned in a triggering moment, what does effective repair look like afterwards? How do I bring myself to do it, and to get over my avoidance style? Addict asking with betrayed partner here.
So I'm going to jump into this. Is pretty easy to me, and maybe tell me I'm off. I wrote a book called Out of the Doghouse, a relationship saving guide for men caught cheating. Out of the Doghouse, a relationship saving guide for men caught cheating. By the way, it's not just for sex addicts, it's also for, and the point is, how can a man who has cheated on a woman come to terms with what she's really going through, have insight into how to be supportive? What is empathy? What is compassion? What is being non-defensive? How do you manage when a spouse has these kind of questions and those kind of questions? So I laid it out very specifically. We also have a work group, which is a part of the trainings that we do on Out of the Doghouse, which kind of goes through it. All the work groups have homework. They're facilitated by a person. There's other people there who are working on this. But I specifically wrote, and my best-selling book, by the way, is the one where men are trying to figure out how to make, and men will say, it's just how we're built, and well, maybe flowers. Well, maybe if we're, maybe I'll give you something. Why is it? It's been 90 days. Why aren't you over it? That, or what do you mean I did this again? I told you I didn't. Those aren't the right answers, and that's what we tend to do. All of us, when we're caught, we want to kind of defend and protect. This is not a situation you want to do that. So I learned a lot about how a man needs to look at your experience, what you're going through, and how to base his responses and the way of being with you in a way that's respectful of what you're going through. I want to say one more thing about that book and that work, because it's very important to me. Throughout the book, I said, and it's a lot of work, by the way, to restore your trust. I don't want to say to you, I didn't do, I want to say to you, I don't want to say to you, I didn't do that, but I understand how you think I would have. I want to say to you, I didn't do that, but that completely dismisses your fears and your concerns. So, um, what I said to the addicts all the way through is this is hard work for us to create a circumstance where we get it, we're following through imperfectly. And I said in the throughout, if you don't want to do this work, then find another partner. You don't have to go through all the steps of empathy, compassion, relatability, being non-defensive. But if you want to stay in this relationship and you want it to grow, I mean, I strongly recommend that this is one of those times where he should read the book, because it is very specific to your questions about how he handles it, how do you handle it, what are you looking for to feel like you're getting your needs met, and how he responds, and all those kinds of things. Because honestly, I don't think this is about being avoidant. I think it's about not knowing what to do and feeling maybe distant or confused, or like when you try to, you don't get I don't know what this is about, but I have a feeling you're not practicing. One more thing. This is a practice of things. I'm not good with numbers. Tammy knows that. But I know on a piece of paper, oh, if I had 2 plus 2, or I have a book, this is how it's going to work for me. So it is about practice of things that are unfamiliar, but you can learn. And whatever you want to call yourself, avoidant, depressed, needful, drama, you just need to follow the instructions. It's that simple. By the way, I want to say, when I cook a meal, Tammy, I used to think, well, put a bunch of this in, and we want some oregano. Let's put a teaspoon. It sounds like, and I have learned that if you just follow the recipe, a pinch of this, by the way, spices are more powerful than I realized. All I have to do is follow I don't even know how to cook. I don't, just follow the recipe. And that's why I wrote the book for it. Just do this. And by the way, you may not feel it right away, but as things get better, you're going to say, oh, not being non-defensive is helpful. She or he feels closer to me. Oh, when I show empathy, we have a better night. It will reinforce itself once you learn how to do this. But the problem is, as I wrote in the book, most men I know don't even know how to make it right with an affair partner, no less all the behavior we engage in. So I could talk about it all day, but read the book. I made 12 cents. It's worth buying. The publishers make the majority. So that's why I say that. Tammy.
The only thing I'm going to add to that is, because Dr. Rob said, if you don't want to be in this, don't do the work, don't be in this relationship, go find another one. And I'm going to beg you not to find another one because guess what? You'll do it again and again and again. You can go through lots of relationships and marriages, etc., repeating those same patterns and creating a massive wake of destruction. So I would invite you, if you choose not to do this work, be single. Just,
Well,
just don't even bother. So,
I want to add to that too, is that I've had people say, this relationship isn't working out. It's too hard. I want to go. This is whatever. And that's why I say to the guys, you have to decide every step along the way if you're going to put in this effort. But um, what I've also said is, look, if you're going to leave this relationship, I would want to make sure I've done everything I can. And I've had men say things like, well, I want to leave because of this and that. And I said, but you'll feel so much better about yourself over time if you say, I did everything that I knew I was supposed to do. And now I don't feel like I can stay or it isn't working out. But that is a much later down the road decision. I don't want to leave a relationship unless I feel that, especially if I have kids or family or, been together a long time, I want to make sure that I have cleaned up my side of the street so I can say, I'm not going to stay, but it's because I've tried as hard as I can. Or you can just go and not want to try. So anyway, Tammy, please continue.
okay. The next one, betrayer here, deep betrayal, long-term affair, porn workers, are sober and in good recovery for 6 years. Really, really trying to show up and do the right thing and make amends. Not perfectly done. Since D-Day and disclosure, my spouse has not initiated any affection or intimacy with me, verbal or physical. I'm having a hard time continuing patience and empathy in the process. If I try to express any feelings or needs, it leads to a fight that lasts for weeks or months. Help.
You want to? I have thoughts, but Tammy, you
Yeah,
start.
this is one of those where you didn't mention that you're working with a qualified couples therapist, but this feels like you guys need help, because
Mhm.
especially shut down for, weeks or months, like that's like, I often say, what is the goal? And, we hope, I will refer to one of the podcasts from January of 2019, Dr. Rob and Dr. Stan Tetkin. And
You love this
I
podcast. You
love
just
this
love. You
podcast. I
mentioned.
do.
I
I
should have
do
him back.
because
He'll do more stuff. Well, we did one
I
more, but
think he would, but
nonetheless,
here's why I love it because it talks about in a healthy relationship, we are each individually healthier. We are happier. I mean, we're physically healthier, emotion, like, all of these good things happen in a healthy relationship. Why would we not, as individuals, want to have that experience? In an unhealthy relationship, the contrary is true. So, this feels like we're in a dynamic where we're stuck, and that can lead to emotional unhealth, physical unhealth, all of these things, and lack of joy in life. I mean, in a healthy pair bond, we do better. It's us against the world, not us against each other. So if you don't have a qualified professional, I would invite you to, and I can help. TAMI at Seeking Integrity. Tell me where you're located. If ideally both of you have individual therapists that you've been working with that are qualified in this area, and then you can ask them either to do conjoint couples therapy, or that means the two of them with the two of you, or that they've got someone that they work well with to do the couples therapy so that there's a team working for you, that they have releases signed, that they can talk, so that they can help guide the process. But this feels like you guys need a higher level of help. Anything that I would say would be like, well, you do these things, but it takes both of you, and it feels like some stuckness. So, Dr. Rob.
um, well, what I read was if I try to express feelings or needs, it leads to a fight that lasts weeks or months. And one of the things I don't think us addicts are really good at is being curious. So in this case, rather than saying, I feel disappointed, great way of saying it, and I really wish we were, and why aren't we? And and I'm upset. I don't think in this set of circumstances, because your partner's so sensitive to not necessarily responding to your needs, and I've heard a lot of partners say, do something for him after what he's done to me. So, but I would be curious. I notice this is difficult for us to talk about, not even top of the issue. Is it how I approach you? Is how, what is it you don't want to hear? Be curious, try to find out, not even I wantedness but I wonder what this is to you. It seems hard for us to talk about, or can we figure this out together? So I would put aside what you want, what you need, or even the wonderful I statements in this case about I think. Be curious, ask questions. Now, if your partner says, I don't want to answer those, I don't want to talk about those, and shuts down, I think absolutely, again, have we done everything we can to save the relationship? To me, this is couples therapy. And not in the beginning, we don't do couples therapy at the beginning. We can talk about that. But 6 years in, I would reach out to Tammy. And I said that because we know many, many of the people who work in this field, and I know some wonderful people who I really care about, and they're terrible therapists, or they don't know how to do this work. So one of the reasons that I ask you to call Tammy, sorry, to email Tammy, is because we really have a lot of people we have faith in and trust in, and we would say, "There, here's a good person for you." Um, there was something else about this I wanted to say. Um, uh, did you base this empathy, verbal or physical? Um, I don't know when D-Day was. If this was 6 weeks ago that you finally disclosed or she found out, or I don't
No, this
know.
says sober and in good recovery for 6 years.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean I don't know when disclosure was done, as I'm saying. But nonetheless,
Oh,
I think I'd be more curious than making demands. And see, and if the curiosity doesn't go well, then you can say, I just want to understand, I do think we need to talk about it. Either way, even if you get your answers, you still need to go somewhere to talk about it. This degree of, and it may well be, that she's had issues that have upset her for a really long time in her life, and you've triggered all of them. And so she's shut down, not because of you, but because of all of her feelings about everything in the past. And I don't know. But this is a great question, and one that I think you do need a professional to resolve. And even if you were to say, let's go to couples therapy about this, you could say, I want to better understand where we are with this, rather than I'm not getting this, and it's been 6 years, and why aren't we doing that? And, you know, um, that's probably not going to do well. So, and again, I want to say we're not talking to each one of you. We're talking in general. We don't know you. These may not be the right answers for you. We're just giving what we can. Anything else
yeah.
about them,
And
Tammy?
but no, I just lean into your support, your support network. Make sure that you're taking care of you, your 12-step meetings, your peer support, your sponsor, all of those things, because that's a really difficult, and making sure you're shoring up your recovery so that it isn't like, well, throwing in the towel or something like that. So, okay. The next one, Dr. Rob. Hello, I'm a betrayed partner. D-Day was August of this year. My husband had said he told me everything at the time, and he just dropped new acting out behaviors on me a day after admitting he slipped with a red circle behavior. We haven't had full disclosure yet. What is the protocol for being honest versus trickle truth, and what is the best and safest for our relationship? My anger is right back to where I was in
So I
August.
want to say one little
Understandable.
thing, and I want to toss it to Tammy. Of course, your anger. In fact, I would have more because not only you're betrayed by all the issues and everything, but now you're being betrayed. And every partner says, I just want to know what's going on. I just want to know the truth. And if we betray you by saying this is that, we've hurt you more. And so just want to give you validation for. I would be even more angry than August because you've been betrayed more than once. One with the behavior, and the second time with this is it, honey. You really got to believe me. A complete lie and betrayal. So I completely understand and would feel the same way that this would make me want to distance, make me feel unsafe, and make me question the whole process. So Tammy, this is a really good one for you. And by the way, I'm looking down, folks. I'm not like tatting on the phone. I'm taking notes and coming up with ideas and stuff like that. Okay.
So, yeah, so my thought is, yeah, being honest versus trickle truth. Well, we talk a lot about doing formal therapeutic disclosures, and um, I, if any betraying partner says you know everything, I know for sure that that's not true. Like, I'd never believe that, because it's so compartmentalized that, the addict partner having the ability to just remember everything is highly unlikely. it also is dependent, and you didn't include this, but is he working with a CSAT therapist? Is he, has he been working the steps in the 12-step programs? Does he have a sponsor? Has he done steps 4 and 5? There's a whole bunch of stuff that would help him get to that place of honesty. But clearly, he doesn't have a solid enough foundation because he acted out again that you know of, into a red circle, inner circle behavior. So so I wonder that I share this with partners often. I don't want to know. The trickle truth is horrible, like because you just never know, and you don't know if it's, and you keep thinking, and it just keeps happening. I actually call them vomit disclosures because it keeps happening on you, and you get the stench of it, but you don't have
Oh,
any support.
okay,
And so,
stench. We can deal with the stench part. You get the
well, no, no,
anyway.
no.
Okay,
But you get the idea. That's what
you
it
get the
feels like for
mess.
partners.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you get the mess. And so I
Again,
wonder if you say, I don't want to know, I'm not going to ask questions. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to hold my healthy boundaries. I'm going to be taking care of me while you work on getting your formal therapeutic disclosure. And I would really strongly encourage you to ask your therapist for a planned date. This is December. If he's really working on it, that could happen in the next month or so. But I would ask the therapist, the qualified professionals that are supporting you with this, for a date, because you've already waited since August, and clearly he wasn't doing the work. And so here you are. But this isn't because of you. He didn't have enough support. So this would be time that I would hope that you would be watching to see what his actions are and if he's actually leaning into getting the support he needs so that he's not going to inner circle behaviors, that he's reaching out to his sponsor, he's reaching out to his therapist instead of the acting out and then coming and telling you about it later. So that's my suggestion is take care of you, make sure that you've got the support you need. The anger is real, but boy, oh boy, taking the healthy boundaries. Debbie McCrae has the healthy boundaries work group starting again in January. It's fantastic. The betrayed partner work group starts again in January. Again, really helpful. But we have a number of the drop-in groups from that'll help support you between here and then too.
I just want to add one more thing, which is I do want to put in a positive here, which is he told you. Now, I don't think you have the structure to support his disclosure. I don't think for me that would just trigger what else happened. You told me about, but there is something to me that is meaningful because I bet you, and I could be wrong, that you weren't told before. I bet you that it was completely hidden. And so I do want to question just a little bit the drip, drip, drip disclosure because we're not really talking about, in my mind, well, I decided to tell you this and I'm going to decide to tell you more. We are dealing with something that happened yesterday, and I'm coming to you and I'm saying this happened. Now, it may not be the time, the right way. There may be other pieces you don't know. Again, we don't know what's going on in the relationship directly, but there is something encouraging to me, which says, "Oh, well, I didn't know when this was happening before. Now I'm being told I don't like it. We hate each other, whatever it is." But to me, there's a glimmer of hope in that your knowing was more important to me than my looking good and hiding it and not getting in trouble. So I don't know what that means. Maybe it was just for him. Oh, if I tell her, I'll feel better. I don't know. I don't know what it meant, but it is mildly encouraging. And I would notice that you are getting at least the truth in the moment from what you're being told. And that's not typical in most of these situations.
And
So,
that's not what I'm reading. I'm reading he admitted to a new acting out behavior after he
right.
said that.
A
And that
day
came out
after
after he got caught again with an
he
inner circle
dropped new
behavior.
acting out behaviors a day after admitting he slipped with the red circle. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he
So he,
he did what he did, but then he decided, oh, and there's all this other stuff I didn't tell you about. Well, that's
yes.
XYZ show.
Yeah.
Um, okay.
Okay. All right. So I have decided to move on from my marriage, but not yet ready to move out. And financially, I won't be in this position for a 6 to 12 months to maintain stability for the kids, 10 and 8. The marital home will need to be sold. We are not in imminent harm, and he is being very good and reliable co-parent and household partner right now. I would like to get things set up and inform my partner 3 to 4 months out from the exact date I would be able to move out. My therapist agrees. My partner has previously been suicidal and not in active recovery for the last nearly year, discovered this last month and sat and communicated this to him that I will not be in a relationship with him if he's not in active recovery program. Is it out of integrity to not inform him of my decision right away? I worry about his functionality, our safety, as his unhealed coping is to shut down. My therapist, who also knows him, thinks this is a good approach, and he does have a CSAT, and she,
So
I assume, has an APSAT. So,
so I guess if you just stopped at the first part of the question, I think I would have had some very good answers for you about the separation process and all of that. But when it gets into the second part, um, it- I don't know how to answer that really because I don't know. We have clients who come into residential treatment and oh, I'm going to kill myself. Oh my, it's a manipulation. It's a way to get you to feel sorry for them. It's okay, but I don't know. When you say previously been suicidal, somebody really thought about it. They really tempted it. He's been hospitalized for. So I can't speak to that. And I don't want to speak to the degree of which this is a reality. Um, Let me ask this. So set to communicate this, and I will not be in a relationship. So again, I'm a little confused because you're saying we're not going to continue, but then you're saying I'm not going to be in a relationship unless you're in active recovery. So I'm not sure if he gets really involved in recovery, does that mean you would stay? Or Tammy, can you clarify? Because I want to respond to that too.
I, to me, it was he's shown that he isn't. So the time has now
Right,
passed. I had said this
right,
is my boundary, and so
okay,
therefore I'm ready to move on. But I
right,
got to get some stuff in place in order to do
right,
so. So I'm in this
right.
in between. And do I tell him I'm pulling the plug on this?
Well, I think the person who is working with them really has the most information. And if I had a client who I was seeing for a while and I genuinely thought that this was not a manipulation, I was really concerned about them they might harm themselves, then I would work. What I would do is make sure you're in therapy, to be honest, because what happens is I would have the two therapists talking to each other. Because this is really where you need to get support, he needs to get support, and then they need to talk to each other about how real is this. In other words, I can't answer this, and I don't think his therapist can really answer it. Two people, professionals working together, understanding where you're coming from and where he's coming from. Because I agree, if it's going to send him over the edge, maybe now is not the right way to time to talk about it, or maybe you begin to talk about it, or I don't know the answer to that. Um, I would worry about his safety too. I would too. Um, the one thing I will say that is not direct related to circumstances, but I think is really important, is I did two different podcasts. Sex, Love, and Addiction is the podcast. Sex, Love, and Addiction. And I did one which I thought was amazing on what is a healthy separation. And they went through, these people who've written a book, every single piece of what works, what doesn't, how it works, how you negotiate it. Some separations are they're just not really separations. Like we still talk every night, we still sleep together, whatever that is. And some separations are so rigid and so problematic, we're just not going to talk to each other, that there are things that need to be negotiated in the process that we never got there because we just stopped. I also, and I love doing the podcast, Tammy. I learned so much. I learned a lot about trial separations. Um, but we also did a two-part right following that or right before it on how to negotiate a collaborative. How do you negotiate a collaborative separation? How do you negotiate a collaborative divorce process? And this is about how to avoid lawyers, how to avoid drama, how to stay out of, and to really plan step by step how you're going to separate and in what way and what are the rules. Um, but as far as to when to talk to him or how to talk to him, or, I think you can learn more for yourself. This is what a collaborative divorce is. Please listen to the podcast. But I really believe that and there's one more. And okay, you have a therapist. Okay. So these people need to talk to each other. You need to be able to share with us, these are my concerns. He needs to say wherever he's at, and then they need to talk to each other, and they may do invite you into a room, all four of you, and say, I understand you're feeling this way. And, she's moving more away from you. What is the reality here? Um, so it just feels like the best way of saying it. Something that needs to be negotiated by professionals because this is too complicated for, I think, even two people to figure out. And so I really respect you and I can understand and hear, well, screw this person, they've screwed me over, and I'm going to follow my plans and I'm going to leave. We know, all of us, that no matter how much someone has hurt us, we still love them. You know, the love doesn't go away. The connection to them when someone dies, the love doesn't go away. And so, what I appreciate is you're leaving room for, I still care about him. He's important to me. I don't want him to harm myself. I want us to take the best steps possible. I've given it the best try I can. I really respect that you're taking it slowly and you're not reacting, but you're being really thoughtful about how to make this as as peaceful a process as it can be for you. And look, there are priorities. There are people that I have very strong negative feelings about, but if they're in trouble, I'm right there. If they're sick, I'm right there. And not everybody, but I put myself aside because I love them. And do I have other things to do? Do I have other things? So, in fact, one of my criteria for a meaningful, oops, for that's my dog. Oh, you probably knew that. Um, One of my criteria for a relationship is, will you show up? When I'm in crisis, when my mom's dying, we haven't really talked a lot for years, but I'm really struggling, Mom. Would you be willing to come and show up for me? Could we put aside these issues to deal with life or death or illness? And I respect that you're really asking those questions thoughtfully, and that you've made a decision about what's right for you, and you're going to pursue it, and you're going to continue with it because you made a decision. You waited to see what would happen. This is a really thoughtful person. And then you made your decision based on what you saw. And now you're going to make another decision, but it's very informed, it's very thoughtful, and you're taking your time. And I think, you know, to all of you spouses, it is very comfortable to say something like, I can't believe you did this to me, you're out. Or if you do this one more time, I'm leaving. Or I understand the feeling behind that. But what is the real reality of what you want with this person over time? And what have they meant to you? And what do they mean going forward? And could we repair this? But I'll tell you what, if my spouse said, I'm going to work on it, and if you said to me, I'm going to give you a year to meaningful commit to this and make changes because, whatever reason, and he doesn't, that says a lot to me. It may say how sick and depressed he is, but it also says a lot about, look, he made this decision. He made the decision for you to move out. He made the decision. It's like in Out of the Doghouse. Do these things if you want to stay in a relationship. If you don't want to stay in a relationship, don't do them. He didn't do the things that could have helped his relationship, and I think he has to take responsibility. He's not being punished. He had an option. You gave it to him, not only a few months, but a year. I think that what we said before, if it were me, I would feel like I've done everything I can. And if I don't stay in this relationship, and I'm probably not, I feel good about leaving because I've done my part. So I respect you a lot, and I really respect that you're taking this slow, you're being thoughtful. I think the right answer is get your professionals together and have a real conversation about this.
Okay, the next one is my husband had his first physical digital trigger today. It was out of the blue and happened while watching a recovery video of a woman talking about betrayal trauma. He had a physical reaction, 100 days in good recovery, but this is the first sexual trigger of any kind. I'm utterly devastated. I feel so blindsided as everything has been past behaviors, but this is new. I'm so scared we are headed for a relapse. And how do I take this info? I'm gutted.
So I think this is a good one for you to start with because you often get the person who's right in that moment and calling in a crisis. And by the way, Tammy does do support sessions, and I think a lot of people have been really helpfully guided by simply talking. She's not as a therapist, but Lord knows she's worked with this forever. You know, uh, uh, I won't say forever because we're still young, but for a long time.
Not so
And
much.
it's
Yeah.
TAMI at Seeking Integrity. And they're very, again, I think Tammy,
Actually, I just put the link for the support sessions. You can book them
yeah,
right online. So, but
I do
yes, but
think just getting a little guidance from someone who's known about this for so long, objective guidance can be
yeah,
really
well,
helpful.
and I have lots of resources. So I'm always I want to listen, and I listen to addict partners or betrayed partners. So, but here's what I hear. I was like, of course you're gutted because you were thinking here he is doing all of these things, and but he had a physical trigger. Okay, he had a physical reaction. Probably it sounds like it was, subconscious, but here's what else, Dr. Rob talked a little bit ago about like he told you. So what I hear, and I'm making this up, the story I'm telling myself is that, he told you about this, and so that is probably different than it was. I wish I could tell you that sobriety is this nice linear path and everything just keeps getting better, but we are constantly dealing with things. You as a betrayed partner are now dealing with a trigger. Like this is a biggie, like you're all churned up. You said I'm gutted. That's like I got a tightening in my gut thinking about you feeling gutted with all of this.
Mhm.
But I wonder if you go like, okay, this is a moment. This is what a recovery plan is to deal with these kind of reactions, to deal with these kind of triggers. And if this is an opportunity for him to talk to his sponsor and talk to his therapist and to get like, this happened, what do I need to do, the next time something's, happening for me. Um, so I hear you feeling gutted. I hear the fear, like you said, I'm afraid we're headed for a relapse. And I'm wondering if in a moment you can go, but this is different than what he was doing in secret before, behind my back, all of this whole secret life. This is a little different. It's not fun, but is this a little bit different? So to me, there's the glimmer of hope that, like, okay, this happened. We're going to deal with it. You can't make it unhappen. This happened, and we're going to deal with it, and we're going to move forward and have a plan for the next time a trigger happens, whatever form of trigger that happens. But the people go, you triggered me, and I'm like, I don't mean to trigger anybody on anything, and I also know that nobody knows my triggers. It's a land minefield, a minefield. So it's my responsibility to take ownership of if I'm being triggered by something, I need to look at what do I need to do to take care of me so that I'm dealing with it with integrity, rather than moving in a direction that would lack integrity. So I know that isn't like what you want to hear, but this stuff doesn't magically go away. Real recovery takes 2 to 5 years. And I will tell you, I've got a really nice chip. And a few years ago, one of my addictions is alcohol. I opened the fridge and my husband was cooking. Thank God he does. And he had an open can of beer that he
Thank
was
God you
using to
don't.
make it. I know. Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't like to cook. I can do it, but I don't like to. But he had an open can of beer because he was making some sauce for a chicken thing, you know, first thought in my head. Like I opened the fridge and I wasn't expecting it. And I was like, oh, I could drink that and no one would know. I started laughing. I started laughing because I was like, oh, sure, And then I told him. Now he freaked out. He freaked out thinking that I was, and I said, no, I'm just being accountable. I'm telling you about this because I'm fine. I'll probably go to a meeting to, but it's one of those things where it was an unexpected. I had a reaction, out of the blue, completely, it was just a weird thing, but I did everything I needed to do and I didn't act on it. And, I was fine. And, I honestly laughed about it because I was like, well, that's my ad brain telling me that this is I mean, like anyway, that's my little story to tell you that triggers don't magically go away. Anybody that says I'm never triggered by anything, I honestly wouldn't really believe that because I know a lot of addicts in recovery on lots of different levels and things happen. So, we need to be prepared so that when there's a trigger, we're dealing with it responsibly. Thoughts?
Um, First of all, thank you, Tammy, because I think your responses are so thoughtful and spot on. Sometimes I'm a little envious because I feel like you just get it. Anyway, another time. I appreciate you. So there's a lot of questions that I have here more than answers. When you say physical reaction, I don't know what that means. Did he get an erection? Did he go in the
That's
bathroom
what
and
I
masturbate?
read.
Yeah, I don't really understand what that is. And and I don't want to trigger it because what does that mean? What does trigger mean? I happen to live near one of the most famous gyms in the world, Gold's Gym. I happen to be living near there right now. And I got to tell you, God love them, every beautiful young person with their muscles and their this and that, and they're showing everything they walk by. I notice I get emotionally aroused. I think to myself, oh, that would be fun. I could just lie to this person. It's kind of like having in front of the refrigerator. And then I laugh at myself. And actually, I say, God love them. Isn't youth wonderful? That's where I go. But nonetheless, I get triggered every day. if you call that a trigger. So I don't know how you define a trigger. The spouses, and I'm going to tell you right now, I think you're unreasonable if you think, oh, if they look at another person ever, that means, or if they find something distracting or stimulating, we're still human beings and we're going to find people attractive. And, I cannot look it down at the ground all the time. And so what you consider to be a trigger, and I hear this a lot from spouses, well, I saw him looking at someone else. Is that to what degree is that meaningful? Yeah, if you spend time together and all he does is this and then the swivel head, that's different. But if really working on recovery and looks over at someone, and maybe looks back, so I think there needs to be understanding what a trigger is. Um, there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. I don't hear anything about he's going to 12-step meetings. He has a sponsor. He has a therapist. He's working on this because, and I'll tell you the absolute truth. If I had been triggered by something and I was really doing this work right, I wouldn't run to you and say, oh, I did this and I'm so sorry and please forget whatever. I would go to the people who are there to support me and I would say, this happened. How do I talk to my spouse about it? I'm in a panic and I don't want to run to them with all my stuff. And I don't want them to I don't want them to be my confessor. So if I tell them, they make me feel better. So, and what do they tell you? Because I absolutely believe that when I walk down the street and I see someone, if I get really excited and distracted, my first job is to call people in my recovery and say, wow, this happened. What do I need to do? How to take care of myself? I calm myself down and then I go to you and say, let me let you know this happened. So part of what I don't know is there a whole structure around when he would tell you, when he wouldn't tell you? What is a trigger? What do you deserve to know? I also didn't think and hear that you're going to, and we have tons of free support groups for partners on seeking integrity, tons. We have, as Tammy said, endless videos. I have Sex, Love, and Addiction, which is podcast. But what are you doing to find support for yourself? Because, and I'll say this to all partners, I wouldn't be blindsided if I had a trigger. When you said, there's so much here, Tammy. I am scared we are having for a relapse now, and how do I take this information? Um, I would take it as face value, which is he told me this and this is what he said. What happened? What else can you know? Are you headed for a relapse? No, you're not headed for relapse. He may be, and this is the huge thing for partners. How do I base my stability on myself and my own peace within myself rather than, oh my gosh, he looked at something and he got excited. I'm gutted. I would, a healthy thing would be to say, I need to go in the other room. I feel really uncomfortable with this. Or, I hope you talk to someone about this. But I would expect you guys to consider that this is a lifelong disorder. We've had it long before we met you. And for us to say we got triggered and for you to be gutted, I would be more as a spouse like, wow, that's really disappointing. I had hoped we were further along. I hope that, I need you to take care of what I do for me, call someone, take a time out. But ultimately, what we do cannot be the thing that you rest your peace of mind on. You have to find your peace of mind. Otherwise, you're going to ride up and down and he got triggered. Oh my God, he heard this. He's doing this. We cannot determine how you feel about yourself. We can determine how you feel about the relationship, how you feel about us, but the peace, gutted. I watch the Great British Cooking Show, whatever it is, and they
Oh,
in
yeah, I
England,
love that.
they say that like I'm gutted. So,
Hmm.
but so that's why I recognize the term. But when you're gutted, who do you turn to? How do you, just like when he's triggered, where does he go? And I'm glad you're here, but you need other people in your life. All the support groups are free. Go and listen to other women who, some are for older women whose kids are grown, some of their women. I mean, there's so many opportunities. Learn, listen, go to those meetings where they do talk with a monitor, a therapist monitoring so no one yells and say, I have this question of all of you. How are you handling this? There are many, many resources for you to grow for yourself and become more at peace with. I'm not saying feel good about, but more at peace with, oh, yeah, he's going to go up and down and right and left. And that's what he's going to do. And what I need to do is this, because you cannot control us, but you can control and manage your responses and how you deal with it. Um, so, Tammy, I think, but it's a great question. There's so many different pieces in there.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. We could keep going on that one, but we're going to
yeah, yeah,
keep going
yeah.
on the other one. So
On
back
the
to your
next one,
first Q&A. I'm the betrayed partner and my SA and PA husband are 15 months out since D-Day. My husband was over a year of sobriety, and I would say about 9 months of good recovery, work, and positive change. What are typical expectations around sexual desire and intimacy at this point? I know to work on myself and only doing what I am comfortable with, etc. But I'm curious. That's another great question.
Well, I don't think there's a timeline. I don't think there's
Hmm.
a calendar by which, I would say again, my expectations would be, are you holding hands? Are you spending time? Are you going and doing things together? Are you, uh, and I said it before, I'll say it again, for sex addicts, especially in the beginning, but sex is about intensity. I see that body. I've got plans to go along with them. I have called the sex worker, and it out of that, there's all excitement and a new body, and they adore me, and really fun and great. Kind of like when you're on your first date, and if you're sexual or start smooching, or whatever, it just feels amazing. But that's not the same as I wouldn't want that kind of sexuality with someone. It's like they're reading a magazine or watching a video while they're having sex with me. I Sexuality for someone who's in recovery comes from a completely different place. And I'll say this to be really honest. Um, we say for sex addicts that sex is not about horniness, it's about willingness. Am I willing? I may not feel comfortable and close to you. I may feel distracted. Am I willing to lie and give you a massage? Are you willing to hold me? And I mean, in a romantic, sexual way. It's amazing how we'll go, oh, sorry. Oh, I didn't expect an erection. Wow, I was scared, but look, we moved into this. And I've said this before too, if we've been together 20 years and I'm expected to get into that intensity excitement like I do with a sex worker, well, no offense to you, either one, but I've seen that ass for 20 years. And I'm not going to approach you sexually looking for that same level of, ooh, a no porn image, a new. I have to approach you as a human being. And so to me, I don't know what the recovery's been like. I don't know where you are. I don't know if you have the support as a couple to work on this. And I guess I do want to say to you folks, and I'll stop with it here, that there is a certain point, and we don't recommend it in the beginning. And I can tell you all the reasons why we don't recommend couples therapy in the beginning. Actually, I'll tell you briefly, because in the beginning, what spouses say basically is, I hate you, I hate you, you ruined my life, I'll never be the same. Why are we together? And addicts say, please, please forgive me, and please, and I didn't mean to. And there isn't much further to go with that. No, I really didn't mean to hurt you. You guys need to do your own work to be able to come back together and actually say, this is the problem. So you have done work, you have been involved working on this 15 months since D-Day. I think now is the time to say, now we're trying to work out intimacy. Now we're not on the big issue about acting out or not. We're about how do we get closer when there's been so much mistrust. I'm so hurt. I'm so vulnerable. This is, I think, when a couples therapy is really useful. So Tammy, I assume TAMI at seekingintegrity.com has some resources, information. And there's also places you can read and learn. We have friends, the Recause, for example, who really work. There are book there. Didn't I do? I did
Sexual
a
reintegration. You
podcast.
did a podcast
I
with
did a
them, and they're
podcast about.
revising the book. I will say that it does use codependent language, but skip that part. We also talk about sensate focused touch. There's a lot of resources to start to reintegrate, and if you need clinical help, there are CSAT trained therapists who are also sexual health people, so they get both the addiction and the sexual health, and
Mhm.
those can be really good resources. There's actually more of them than there used to be. So there are opportunities if you need that level of help. It's there. And it's going to be scary and it's going to feel really vulnerable. And that's honestly, Dr. Rob did has talked on these webinars before about he looked up on online what are the top 15 terms for intimacy, and none of them had the word sex in it. And that's it starts with that level of intimacy, and then it can progress, but it's going to feel lots of addicts are afraid. And you're talking the betrayed partner, but lots of addicts are afraid to have sex in a real and meaningful vulnerable way because they've always been over here. A lot of them have been sexually avoidant because they're doing porn and masturbation or whatever else they're doing. So it's complicated, but you can heal the relationship in a sexual way too, if you're both doing the work. So
I wanted to look toward reintegrating. I'm just writing something and I'm asking a question. Tammy knows where I am too. Uh, I wanted to say something about one of the questions earlier about um, when it was I have given this person a year. Remember that question? And I've sat
mhm.
back and I've watched and I've not seen him, engage in healing. And I say this a lot. I think all therapists say it is no action is an action. no, if he's not doing this, he is saying he's giving you the information. He may not have decided to do this, but not deciding to do this has consequences and it is an action. So no action is an action. If someone says, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that, they're giving you a message, which is their inaction is a message. And it, yeah. So there's that. Um,
You have time for
okay.
one more since we had a little technical issue?
For you, Tammy,
Okay, thank you.
the dog will
So
wait to go out.
my husband has been unfaithful several times. The women vary in age and type. This makes my self-esteem very low, unattractive, and uncomfortable when we are in public. I feel that his focus is always elsewhere. What can I do to feel better about me? I don't want to be so self-conscious.
Tammy, do you want to start with that one?
I
And
do because this was never about you. This is kind of like the earlier question where I was concerned that the person was feeling like what's wrong with me. This is not about you. Nothing you did or didn't do. It's not the way you look. It's not that. This is about someone having a maladaptive coping mechanism and choosing outside rather than and being close. The more we talk about this a lot, but you are the vulnerable person. Those are transactional or whatever else, in intensity, like Dr. Rob said earlier, intensity rather than intimacy. But this was never about you. Here's what I would really, really like you to do is join the Betrayed Partner work group in January, because I think you will start to see this. But the more affirmations that you are doing to take care of you and understanding that this is never about you. This is not about him comparing. Dr. Rob, one of the work groups is Sex Addiction 101, and Scott, our colleague Scott, teaches that. And he often says, he'll ask the guys whether you're a fair partner, prettier than your wife, no, smarter than your wife, no, funnier than your wife, no, all of these things. No, 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 no. It's a convenience. Sometimes it's, sex workers, so therefore it's transactional. If it's porn, it's completely, dissociated. If you can understand more. We've got lots of Dr. Rob's on sex, love, and addiction. He has, Sex Addiction 101, Porn Addiction 101, and he talks about what sex addiction is and isn't. It isn't about sex. It's about that, going over here and dissociating.
well, alcoholism isn't about alcohol. It's about
Yeah.
a place I can go to disappear and completely lose myself. I wanted to, Tammy, so Tammy knows I give singing praises for AI when
Y-
it is useful. And so I did ask this question. I love it, by the way, Tammy, because it said everything we agree with. So my question was, um, how do you reintegrate sexuality after emotional sexual betrayal? And this is what it says: stabilize the relationship with full truth, no ongoing deception, and restoration of basic safety. Two, each partner finds their own peace with their emotions. The betrayed processes the trauma. The partner who did the betraying builds intimacy, and accountability. Rebuild trust through consistent, transparent behavior rather than promises. What are they doing? What are they doing for recovery? Tammy, we could have written this. The next one: reconnect non sexually with calm closeness that avoids triggers. Then set explicit sexual boundaries and rules: how to go slow, how to stop without conflict. Like, I want to stop. Reintroduce sexual touch gradually through sensate focus, which you can look up, or a progression of closeness that rebuilds safety. Support the betrayed partner in reclaiming sexual identity and finding new ways to be safely sexual where all of those triggers don't get up. And the last one is integrate lessons and install long-term boundaries and communication practices to prevent reoccurrence, which to me is therapy in 12 steps. So Tammy, just to say it, I think that everything we said really is there in the practice of rebuilding intimacy, and it can sexual intimacy, and it can be, but it will never be the same. And I wouldn't want it to be. I would want sexuality for both of you to now be a reflection of your connection to each other. And it can happen, but it's not going to look for the addicts in particular like it did before. So Everything you hear is on seekingintegrity.com. You can reach to Tammy and she will give you information, give you, and my other podcast, Sex, Love, and Addiction, which has 2 million downloads. I think has a lot of shows that have answers. We've been
I
doing
think it's closer to three, according to the numbers I've been looking at. So 3 million, and then we've got overcoming betrayal and addiction as well. So we have resources for you. Just keep coming back. There's resources. We want to help. We want to give you resources that will actually move your relationship forward so that you don't get stuck and that you can heal individually. And if you want to stay in the relationship, you together as well. So
and no one pays us to do this. We do this. We do this because we want
we
to.
do this because we want to.
One thing
Yes.
about the podcast, I looked at today. I've been doing it since 2019. That's
No,
how long.
2018. No, no, no. There's
Really, we
some from
started
20.
before
Yeah.
than that.
No, there was
That
some
is
in 2018.
crazy. I mean, I didn't have
Yeah.
hair in my head then, but I definitely, it's been a while. All right. Thanks, Tammy. Love you,
All right.
Tammy.
Bye.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
See you guys later.